Richard Nixon, was he a brilliant statesman or a paranoid politician? A peacemaker or a lawbreaker? His career is honestly one of the most compelling and contradictory stories in American history. It's a story of incredible highs and a fall from grace that is, well, unlike any other. Just look at these two moments right here. On one side, you've got a triumphant president, totally at the peak of his power. And on the other, that's the signature that ended it all. This is the story of how one man could be both things at once. The comeback head who clawed his way to the White House, and the only president to ever resign in disgrace. So how did he embody such extremes? Okay, so to really understand the fall, you first have to understand the climb. Nixon's journey to the top was just relentless, often ruthless, and it all started from some pretty humble beginnings. Nixon's ambition was really forged in a poor Quaker family out in California. After World War II, his political career just skyrocketed. This timeline shows you his meteoric rise, from congressman in 46 to vice president by 53. His reputation as this fierce anti-communist, which was pretty much cemented by the Alger-Hiss spy case, propelled him to the second highest office in the land in just 7 years. So after 2 terms as a really active and influential vice president, he ran for the top job himself in 1960. He ended up losing to John F. Kennedy in one of the closest elections in history by just over 112,000 popular votes. I mean, talk about a crushing defeat. The real crushing blow, though, came 2 years later, with a loss for governor in his home state of California. In this bitter farewell to the press, he famously declared his career was over. And for a while there, it really seemed like he was right. But Nixon's career was far from over, not by a long shot. He staged one of the greatest political comebacks in American history. And when he finally reached the presidency, he didn't just govern, he set out to reshape the entire world. Winning the presidency in 1968, he inherited a nation that was just deeply, deeply divided by the Vietnam War, civil unrest, and assassinations. He promised to be a peacemaker and to bring the silent majority of Americans together. And this is where we see his grand strategy in action. I mean, the lifelong anti-communist did the absolute unthinkable. He opened relations with communist China. This was a masterful chess move. By engaging China, he gained leverage over their rival, the Soviet Union, forcing them to the negotiating table and kicking off a period of eased Cold War tensions we now call détente. Now, while his foreign policy gets all the headlines, Nixon's domestic record is full of surprises, especially for a conservative president. Responding to a powerful new environmental movement and showing a real streak of political pragmatism, he created the Environmental Protection Agency and signed landmark laws protecting clean air and endangered species. On his watch, 18-year-olds also gained the right to vote, and humanity took its first steps on the moon. It was a period of sweeping change at home, for sure. And the American people, they approved. His 1972 re-election wasn't just a win, it was a landslide of historic proportions. Richard Nixon stood at the absolute pinnacle of his power and prestige. But, and you knew there was a but coming, even at this moment of triumph, his presidency was beginning to unravel. The same win-at-all-cost mentality and deep-seated paranoia that fueled his rise would now, well, it would trigger his downfall. The Watergate scandal, as you can see from these steps, wasn't really about the third-rate burglary itself. No, it was about the cover-up, the lies, the obstruction of justice, the abuse of presidential power. All of it orchestrated from the Oval Office, and it unraveled over 2 agonizing years, gripping the nation and completely destroying his presidency. On August 9, 1974, facing certain impeachment by the House and conviction by the Senate, Richard Nixon submitted this letter. He became the first and still the only American president to resign from office. So how do we reconcile these two Nixons, the foreign policy visionary and the disgraced president, the man of such great achievement and, well, of such great failure? After receiving a controversial pardon from his successor, Gerald Ford, Nixon didn't just disappear. Not a chance. He spent the next 20 years methodically working to rebuild his reputation, writing 9 books and re-emerging as a respected elder statesman on foreign affairs. Ultimately, his legacy is a battle for memory. Do the monumental successes, like opening China, ending the Vietnam War, creating the EPA, do they outweigh the monumental scandal that forced him from power? That's the question that remains. And that leaves us with the ultimate question about Richard Nixon. He was a man of immense talent and immense flaws, whose actions changed the world for both better and for worse. So when a leader's triumphs are just as large as their failures, how should they truly be remembered?